Hey guys, how you doing? This is Mike from Craft Beer Storm, your host, also founder brewer at Beara Brewing Company in glorious Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And today we are going into Massachusetts. There's a brewery in planning. It's not open yet, but I talked to Jay Southwood. He's the founder of Break Rock Brewing Company. So and Jay has a lot of experience. He's a brewer over at Mayflower Brewery in Massachusetts. They're making loads of beer, getting it out there. Good stuff. All right, so let's get to it. And we are here with Jay Southwood. He's the founder of Break Rock Brewing Company. Actually, the brewery's not open yet, but it's a brewery in planning. And he wants to locate in Quincy, Massachusetts, and trying to raise some funds for his new brewery. Jay, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. I mean, you're kind of in the same boat I was in 2013. I did kind of a Kickstarter. And we raised some funds to kind of just open this brewery. And, we reached out to people who gave some, if they donated $50, their name would be on a plaque. They get a pint glass, and if you donated $3,000, you get a beer named after you. And actually, one person did that, which is awesome. And we raised about $11,000. I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but at Kickstarter, we did it. So, I heard of your story, and I said, let me get Jay on, see if I can help him out. And you have started a crowdfunding. Maybe tell us a little bit about your story, how you got started in beer, what's happening. What are you thinking about in opening this new brewery?
Sure. Well, my story is not all that unique to one you've heard before in the brewing world. I was a cube jockey and fell in love with homebrewing, went really deep down the rabbit hole, took on the hobby full bore. And when the opportunity presented itself to make a career change, I actually volunteered at a now defunct local brewery to gain some experience. Knew immediately that I wanted to eventually be a brewer and have my own brewery just for my love of home brewing. But after I had some experience at that commercial brewery setting, I moved into Mayflower Brewing Company, where I've been since 2013, and just recently made the decision to open up Break Rock Brewing Company and hopefully in Quincy, Massachusetts.
Oh, great. You're with Mayflower. What were you doing over there?
So I actually started on the sales side. I took a different approach. I knew that I had some practical brewing experience in home brewing. I did not know how to run a sales team or distribution, or some of the more important aspects of running a brewery and running a business. So the opportunity presented itself. I jumped on it just to get inside the industry with a pretty well-respected brewery on the South Shore territory of Massachusetts, and gain some experience. While I was at Mayflower, I actually put myself through the American Brewers Guild course and eventually moved inside to production, and am now head brewer, or will be head brewer shortly. One of the brewers now, where I've been for about 2 years.
That's awesome. That's great experience, man. And your Mayflower is making good stuff. Yeah, and they're making a lot of beer, actually, right?
Yeah, we're around the 6,000 to 7,000 barrel marker. So we're not quite a regional. We're not quite small. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. But back in 2013, when the opportunity arose, I knew Mayflower in large part because of their porter. I love Mayflower porter. I still do. It's a great beer to brew. But in general, the brewery just had a good reputation for quality, consistent beer, and I knew it would be a good learning environment for me.
Yeah, that's great. And then what are you planning? You're planning to put a location. Do you have anything picked out yet? Do you have a lease, or what's happening with that?
Yeah, we are targeting Quincy, Massachusetts. It's the largest city or town in New England currently without a brewery. We see a tremendous opportunity there. Quincy itself is a historic community that's really proud of what it produces and what it has. And one thing it doesn't have is a brewery. So
that's crazy. It doesn't have a brewery.
It's insane.
Wow.
Especially if you consider its location, its proximity to Boston, major arteries and public trains that go through the city. I mean, plenty of opportunity from the business perspective, but just from the community perspective, we've heard from many members of the community, all the way up to the mayor's office. Everyone's been super supportive. They really want to see a brewery come to Quincy. But the challenge has been, for as big as Quincy is, there's not a ton of usable industrial space left because a lot of development has been happening in the city. And we go knocking on doors, and some people have the opportunity to either, lease the warehouse out that they've owned for 50 some odd years, or sell it for a couple $1 million. It's kind of an easy decision for them to sell and walk away. So we do have a couple active conversations going on for a location, and we're optimistic that one of those will pull through, and hopefully we'll have news for folks on where we're going to end up.
They got to rezone stuff in Quincy. That way you can get your that's what you could do. I mean, go to the board and say, look, I want to put a brewery here. You want me to put a brewery here. Rezone this building. So let me put it here,
I actually feel the city will work with us on that. They've been really supportive. It's not so much a zoning issue as it is an availability issue. Physical structures and real estate in Quincy are really hot right now.
Wow.
It's undergoing a huge transformation, and because of that, people are trying to get the most that they can out of their properties, and it's tough to blame them for that, but it's creating a challenge for us right now, but we're optimistic that we're going to have something soon.
But yeah, a lot of people, Boston's becoming so crazy expensive. A lot of people are moving to the peripheries, and Quincy, I know a lot of people are living there, and then north of Boston. So they're moving out of the city and to locations like that. But Quincy's on the water there. It's really nice. Yeah. But so you don't have a location yet, but I think you mentioned there's another brewer involved.
Yeah, a longtime friend and experienced brewer, Delia Bizankowskis. She and I met in 2013, I believe, when we were both volunteering for the same local brewery. We had a couple other people that went on to do great things in the industry on that same team. So looking back on it, it was really a fun time. But V and I have known each other for a while, and I called her and said, hey, I might be opening my own brewery. I'd be really interested in bringing you in as a head brewer. And she said, well, how about a partner too? So she's got skin in the game as well, and she's going to be running the production shop, and really excited to have her on board. She's brewed at a couple different breweries, including Cape Cod Brewing Company, and now for quite some time she's been the head brewer at Drop-In Brewing Company in Vermont, which is affiliated with the American Brewers Guild. So she's also helping out with the ABG classes and lectures as well. So she's got a ton of experience. She's a really great person. She's from the South Shore originally, Brockton, so she's happy to come home and make some great beer a little closer to home.
Wow, she's in Vermont. That's good stuff. Between the both of you, you have really good experience. And I think, yeah, good stuff. So what kind of system do you think you're going to get?
We have narrowed down what we're looking at, but we're going to be going with a 10-barrel system unless just something dramatic changes based on location restrictions or anything like that. But we're looking at about a 10-barrel system, so we'll have mostly 10s and 20s to start. We're going to start fairly small and let growth dictate. We're not going to race out of the gates and try to take over the world. I think it's really important to focus on your home market and on your tap room and make sure that you're turning over fresh, good beer while you establish your brand. So we're going to let demand justify growth and go from there.
That's a great approach. And a lot of people go nuts and they go huge in the beginning, and then they don't know, they make some beer, they think it's good, and then they work with distributors, and then the distributors take it, and then there's issues because they don't want to take it anymore. Or they have too much of it, and then what happens? And then the bank still wants to get paid, and then everything goes south. But I think the 10-barrel. Are you going to do some food in the new brewery too, or?
We'll do some prepackaged food and work with probably food trucks. We're not going to be recreating the wheel in that respect inside the tap room. I think that's a model that's working for people. They're kind of used to it and expect it when they walk into a tap room. So we're going to let food service professionals handle the food mostly, but we will have some kind of prepared, ready-to-go options there, and then work with local restaurants as well to do ordering in options.
That makes a tremendous amount of sense. Why do you want to put a restaurant in there when you have other, it's not like that in New Hampshire. I have to serve some food. And I know in Massachusetts, I guess you have food trucks too, right? That's great.
Right. And as you know, it's hard enough running a brewery. So who wants to run a restaurant in addition to a brewery?
The whole ship could sink, man. You put a restaurant in. Serious. You put a restaurant in, it's not a brewery anymore. It's a restaurant. Because
right.
And then you have to know what you're doing. You have to be a restaurateur. So if you're some guy brewing, it's just going to cloud everything up. And yeah, it's a mess.
And I think if we're being honest about the business that we're in, we're heading down a path and some cities and some areas already be there where the relationship between breweries and tap rooms and restaurants or bars that serve food has always been kind of collegial, whereas now they're looking down the street and saying, hey, wait a minute, those guys are actually selling beer at like a good clip. They're essentially a bar. Are they my competitor, and why do I have my beer on tap for them? So to be able to look back at them and say, we're not trouncing on your field here and making and preparing and serving food. We're going to leave that to you because you know what you're doing. We're going to be down the street here making good beer. We hope you support us. We're going to support you. I think that's a good relationship to take with restaurants, especially local to the brewery.
And there's some guy up here. He had a restaurant. Well, he focused on craft beers, but he also served some food. And now he's moving locations, but he's also going to put a brewery into his new location, which he's got the restaurant piece down, I guess, right? And then he can put the brewery in and be a brew pub. I guess get somebody to partner with him. So
right, and for as many breweries have opened, not as many brew pubs have, and I'm sure many people would love to see a continued fusion of food and beer and pushing the envelope in that realm.
When you when you pair the food, you have food with beer, people just linger and they stay and they drink more beer, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
That's the great margin on beer. It's fantastic. So, okay, so 10-barrel system. And have you guys, do you have any specialties that you're thinking about making, I guess IPAs or anything that pops out?
Yeah, that's a really common question we get, and it's a totally reasonable one. And what I say to people is that's the fun part and the easy part for V&I in many respects. Right now we're talking about things like location and build-out costs and getting a lease signed, and we're not even really having our beer caps on right now, but we certainly have had fun conversations about what we might do. So we actually poured at Quincy Porch Fest back in June and did pour our Peacefield Kolsch and Opening Salvo, which is a New England IPA, and went through all of our beer. People loved them. So we'll definitely have one or both of those beers available at the brewery any given time you walk in. Those are kind of beers that we anticipate having on. But then we'll also have a lot of rotating taps. And both her and I are kind of a good mix of traditional styles and some of the newer age stuff. So we're going to be rotating new and different constantly. And I can tell you that if we have 10 or 14 tap lines, 10 or 12 of them are not going to be New England IPAs. We're going to have variety, but we will have some New England IPAs. Of course, I like those styles as well.
Yeah, you have to have some New England IPAs. Everybody's looking for those. But you also, I do a podcast. I do 3 podcasts a week. So one is like this one's going to be on Monday. I interview founders and brewers and, people in the industry. But Wednesdays I do beer styles. So I go down the Great American Beer Festival list. And there's 102 styles on there. And then there's subcategories. So there's a lot more beers than just IPAs. We're trying to, preach the gospel or lagers, like there's a lot of other really good beers, other than IPAs. So that's good that you're going to have, a number of tap lines. So have some IPAs is okay, but you want to show that there are other beers, and showcase
Absolutely.
Those. Yeah. So that's cool. And so now you're trying to raise funding. How are you doing that now?
Yeah, so there's this really unique platform, relatively new, called Mainvest. And basically the premise is this is a Kickstarter on steroids, how I describe it to people. It is not a donation like a Kickstarter campaign. You do get some of those great perks that you might see in a Kickstarter campaign, But this May Invest campaign is an actual IRS recognized investment. So there is a return on investment. Happens to be 40% paid out over 5 years at the latest. So if you invested $100 today, you would get back $140 by year 5, hopefully before then.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has that great time that Kickstarter offers, and that community members can get involved for as little as $100. That's the minimum investment level. So anyone's grandmother or buddy they homebrew with or whatever can chip in and feel like they had a part, because they will have, in bringing a brewery to Quincy. And we've seen that. We have, I think I checked today, I think it's around 120 investors, and we've raised almost $70,000 in just under 60 days. And the campaign closes on Wednesday the 14th. People can still get involved if they'd like, and they can check out mayinvest.com. You'll see the Break Rock Brewing campaign listed under the campaign section. So people can get on there and check it out. If you feel inclined to invest in the brewery, we certainly appreciate the support. If you want to share it on the social networks, we also would appreciate the help there.
So now you're targeting 70, or you already raised 70?
We've actually already raised 70.
Wow.
And I should specify this is for location, lease deposits, build out mostly. So it's mostly all going to go towards build out. But these people will be able to walk in and know that they had a part in making that possible. So we can go as high as $107,000 by IRS law. So we do have some runway to get to that, but we are already at 70, and we certainly appreciate the support that people have given us so far.
Oh, that's great. You know, that's a nice chunk of money. You know.
Yeah, and it blends in well with the mix. I mean, I'm sure you went through this when you were opening up your brewery and sourcing funding. And we do have, of course, I have some skin in the game, and Vilia does as well. And then we have some private investors, and then we have an equipment loan. So that's all lined up. This is all on top of and part of the funding equation, but it's certainly not primary for our success. So it's a nice thing to have, and I really like having the community involved. But regardless of how much we raise on this platform, we're still planning on moving forward.
All right, great. You know, that's wonderful. That, you know, you can also go to the community and have you gotten it? Well, I guess you got the feedback from the town, you know, I mean, Quincy's a great place, and do you think you'll be using some local ingredients in your beer? Have you talked to anybody locally?
Yeah, I've done that at Mayflower, and I'm certainly a proponent of it. We have some options locally, as you may know, up in New Hampshire. You know, Valley Malt or Stone Path Malting is relatively new in Wareham. They're doing their own malting on site, so there are certainly options, and hop farms seem to be springing up around New England as well. So I would definitely be open to that. We don't have a lot of active ingredients grown in Quincy. It's not a lot of farmland left in town anymore, but we are open, willing, ready, and probably will, in some cases, use local ingredients when we can.
Wow, that's great. That's fantastic. Now, well, you're at Mayflower and your partner's at another brewery. Do you guys discuss any challenges that the craft beer business has, you know, based on what you see?
Well, I definitely see a shift. We have seen a shift. It's undeniable in local. So, you know, I think the number of, I think it's 7,000 breweries in the U.S. with board planning tends to scare people in the industry. Whereas I think if you compare that in a per capita comparison to pre-prohibition, we're still not even close to, you know, the number of breweries per person. I think we're heading back to that time where, you know, you had a brewery on your street or in your neighborhood. That was the brewery you drank from, because it was necessity back then, but also you wanted to support local, and I think that's carried through today. So I think that's the reason why some of these smaller, more nimble breweries and tap rooms have been successful, because they can, you know, really cater to their local market, whereas some of the regional breweries don't have that luxury, and because of that, they're seeing challenges in the distribution chain, like beer sitting on shelves and getting old, maybe focusing on core brands and not changing it up. So they don't really have the ability to be as nimble as some of these smaller breweries, and I think that's why those breweries have been successful.
Yeah, you got to be fluid and you got to pivot. So being smaller allows you to do that. If you get too big and go down one road and really just go all in and invest in that,
Right.
you could get screwed if the trends change. Like for bottling and canning, you know, bottles used to be great. Everybody like bottles, and now all of a sudden there's cans, and then, you know, it's like, wow.
And who knows? Maybe bottles will be back in 10 years.
We want
Maybe
bottles to come back. 22-ounce bottles would be awesome. I mean, that's what I built my business plan on, and it worked out well in the beginning. I still sell bottles in the tap room. I mean, I'm just like, look, this is the package if you want it. It's okay. And they take it, you know, because they take it home and they drink it, and it's fine. It's beer. Beer is beer. Are you going to be distributing, you think, or?
So we're going to be focusing on the tap room early. You know, I'd be happy selling 80-90% of our beer out of the tap room early on. And then we'll be supplementing with really limited local distribution to local bars that will be, you know, delivered by us, self-distributed. So it's going to be a limited footprint, and similar to overall growth, will grow as justified. So we'll start selling cans out and crowlers out of the tap room, and eventually we'll move into stores, but it might take some runway to get to that point.
No, I think your approach is really great. You know, focus on the tap room, focus locally. Don't go out and kill it. Say, I want to be in 3 states. You know, just focus locally, get established. It's going to take, you know, some time, but you'll learn from that, and then you can, you know, grow as your demand grows, which is good.
Yeah, I heard one of your guests, David Walker from Firestone Walker, and you guys were talking about how, I think he said, you know, if you're busting your hump and making good beer, you'll be successful. And I do believe that, despite the fact that there's a lot of breweries and competitors more than ever in the market. I think ultimately, especially from the local focus, people see that and they want to support that brand.
No, of course, yes. You have to be, and David knows a lot, and it was a great conversation that I had with him on the podcast. And they focus on California. I think he says they sell 90% of their beer just in California, and they make a lot of beer. And
yes, they do. I think he said 450,000 barrels.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of beer. And then you know, they kind of sprinkle the rest across the country, which is interesting. But you know, he's focused locally. They were focused regionally in the beginning. Well, you know, locally and hyper local, and then they just grew to like a regional brewery pretty much. But the beer is very good, and they're doing a great job at it. I mean, a lot of people know the Firestone Walker, and they're in California, which is a great state to be in for beer. Yeah. So, do you think there's a craft beer bubble? I don't know. I mean, you touched upon it before, but and I think you know, per capita, you made a really good statement there. You know, because there were 3,000 breweries, I think, before Prohibition, but you know, if you look at the ratio, I mean, the amount of the population, I think, tripled or something.
Right. I think it remains to be seen, you know, if there is a bubble. I think we'll learn relatively soon. I think the market is definitely maturing, and people are facing challenges, some of which we've touched on already, that they haven't had to face before. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think the breweries that you know, I would hate to see anyone fail. I think we will see it inevitably. Maybe folks that bit off more than they could chew and tried to jump a little too far, run a little too fast, too soon, take out big loans or expand, and maybe don't have the infrastructure or demand to do so yet. So I think those guys we might see tumble or be part of acquisitions or whatever. But ultimately, again, if you're focusing on your home market, your town or towns around you, and you're making good beer, employing people locally, having a good time doing it, there's no reason why you can't continue to be successful.
Exactly, and it's a great way to go. You know, stay local in the beginning, and then see where it goes from there, and take steps. So I think what you're doing is great. Good idea, good business plan. And so if people want to donate to your cause or buy into your business, I guess they get a share, or with this unit or whatever that you are offering. How do they find out more?
So if you go to mainvest.com, you'll see under their opportunities section, Break Rock Brewing's campaign. You can click on that and learn more about the specifics of the investment opportunity. It's all laid out for you. They are also available to answer any questions, but it's pretty low touch. You basically give your information, process your payment, and you're in. So that will explain, payout schedules and all that stuff. It is a risk, of course, like any other investment. If we don't survive as a brewery, then you do lose your money. But that's no different from investing in the stock market or anywhere else. But what I can say to you is I think we have a very good plan. I know we have experienced staff and brewers, and we have a community that wants this beer. So we're going to do our best to be successful, and I think we will be. So if people choose to invest, I sure hope that in a couple of years we'll be writing them a check for their time and their support.
Yeah, it's a great way to raise capital, and it builds a community of people to support you. And that's pretty good. $70,000 so far is great. But it's ending soon, right? Wednesday?
It is. It will be over on Wednesday. So once it's over on Wednesday, that's it. The doors are closed. So if people do want to get involved, I would encourage them to go to mainvest.com and click on the Break Rock Brewing opportunity to find out more.
Yeah, that's great. I hope they do that. We'll put that in the show notes too, so people can click on it. But you only have a couple days left, folks. So you got to get on it, and help Jay make this happen. But you say you have other funds, so it doesn't necessarily, you're not relying on it, but it would be a very nice thing to have, I would suppose.
Absolutely.
$70,000 is good.
Everyone's showing us.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Jay. Well, it was a great conversation. I wish you the best of luck. I want to come down and visit you when you open. And maybe we can do a live follow-up podcast, right? From your tap room.
Absolutely.
And we'll check out the beer. And sounds good. You guys got a lot of experience behind you. You have a good plan. It seems like you have the capital. And you're willing to work hard for it, which is great. Your motto on your website is work hard, drink well, which is awesome. And I wish you the best. And, I want to keep in touch.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate having me on and for spreading the good word of good beer. Keep it up.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Take care. Yeah, that was Jay Southwood, the founder of Break Rock Brewing Company. It's a brewery in planning. It's not open yet. And they want to try to be in Quincy, Massachusetts. They're looking for a location there. And they want to, get ramped up. And they're doing a crowdfunding, right? So you buy a share, an actual share in the business. You own it. And they want to give you, a good return on your investment. And it helps out a brewery, right? Get them going, which is positive. Quincy doesn't even have one brewery. That's crazy. What's going on? But I think they'll do a great job at opening up and getting into that market. A lot of people moving there, so it's a good thing. Jay has a lot of experience. Mayflower Brewery, right? At the brewer there is fantastic. So he wants to open his own gig, open his own thing, which is good. I wish more power to him. Got to go visit him, have a beer. And that's, your show for today. If you like what we are doing, please go on iTunes, give us a rating and review, subscribe, click 5 stars, you'll be all set. We do podcasts for you all week. We do it 3 times a week. We do a brewer or founder on Monday, talk about the brewery. On Wednesday, we do beer style. So we go down the Great American Beer Festival list and we pick one different style every week. And we just go through the grains in it, the hops, how hoppy, origins of the beer, what glass to serve it in, examples of the beer. There's a lot of different styles of beers, like 102 of them on that Great American Beer Festival list. And then on Friday, we do Craft Brew News, the drama that is craft beer. So that is your show for today. I wish you a great rest of the day. And if you got any comments, questions, contact me, Michael at craftbeerstorm.com. And don't forget, we're going to have a beer weekend at Victoria Inn in Hampton. Glorious Hampton, New Hampshire. Awesome inn. And, food and beer pairing. We got a bus picking you up, bringing you to local breweries. A lot of great breweries in New Hampshire, where I'm at, the Seacoast. And also, we'll have kegs and eggs, and we'll have beer mimosas on Sunday. Good stuff. Breakfast stout. So it's going to be a great weekend. So stay tuned for that information. Send me an email. Check out our website. I'm putting that up. But we'll have that information all over Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all over the place. Make it easy for you to sign up, because it'll be a great weekend. Okay, that's what I have for today, and we will talk to you on Wednesday. Take care.